Shabbat Shalom, my friends. You know, the windows in our apartment overlook the Pacific Ocean right over there and allow us to gaze up to the very top of the Santa Monica Mountains. So we notice things here. We notice what a full moon looks like when it's reflected off of the waves. We notice how vast numbers of birds begin moving at sundown to their nesting places in those mountains. And we notice the changes of the seasons as the sun seems to expand its daily presence, bringing a bit more light and a bit more warmth. I know that many parts of the country still abide within winter's grip, but that's not the view from our window. Spring is coming. Our Sedra is Ki Tissa, Exodus chapter 30, beginning with verse 11 and following. Scholars long ago noticed that the narrative within our Sedra is not well suited to its location in the overall text. It's confusing. Suddenly, we're back at Mount Sinai. Moses is still getting instruction from God as God prepares the 2 tablets of stone upon which the 10 commandments are to be inscribed. The rabbis of old notice this and push back against any concern. Ein mukdam u'muchar b'Torah, they taught. The Torah just isn't constructed along the lines of a strict chronology. So, the rabbis would say, move on. Study Torah's messages to us. So that's just what we're going to do right now. Our Sedra contains the universally told story of the golden calf, and I promise we'll get to that story next year. But first, I found a wonderful suggestive anomaly pointed out by Rabbi Jonathan Sachs. He taught, we are dealing here with 2 copies of the Aseret HaDibrot, the 10 Commandments. The first set ended up being smashed by Moses as he encountered the devastating reality of an impatient people joyously worshiping an idol, a calf of gold. As it says, Moses became enraged, and he hurled the tablets from his hands and shattered them at the foot of the mountain. Close quote. Wow, okay. And before that day was over, some 3,000 of our people were slaughtered by the Levites. And then, to tidy things up, God sent a plague. Moses pleads for God's forgiveness. God establishes a new covenant with the people, a detailed, demanding covenant. Then Moses reascends Sinai and receives a second set of the tablets. But now here's the anomaly. The first set of tablets, the one that ends up being shattered, is described as follows, quote, stone tablets inscribed by the finger of God, and, quote, the tablets were God's work, and the writing was God's writing. But when it comes time for God's strength and covenant to be announced, this is what our text says. Quote, the Eternal One said to Moses, carve 2 tablets of stone like the first, and I will inscribe upon the tablets the words that were on the first tablets, which you shattered. Close quote. Besides God's kind of testy little aside, blaming Moses for having shattered the first tablets, God is offering a complete, identical replacement. But not exactly. Moses does carve out new tablets identical to the first, but then our text states, quote, and Moses was there with the Eternal 40 days and 40 nights, and Moses wrote down on the tablets the terms of the covenant, Aseret HaDvarim, the 10 Commandments, Close quote. Did you pick up on that anomaly? The first set was carved by the finger of God, but the second set, despite what God said was going to happen, that second set was inscribed on the tablets by Moses himself. The first set is shattered. The second set endured. But both sets, the shattered pieces as well as the new set, ended up being carried by the Israelites through the desert. On the face of it, this doesn't make sense. Surely something which is totally the work of God should have a preferred status to something which a human being helped to craft. The rabbis saw here a powerful lesson and they pounced. The first set reflected an undertaking by God to impose the divine message upon the people. But the second set is the product of a partnership between God and humankind. And the text and our tradition clearly stand with those who say that human beings cannot be passively brought to an understanding of what life is all about. Maybe, I never thought about this actually, maybe that's why an abundance of miracles played out before the eyes of the people did little to change the inner core of their beings. Too passive. Miracles are observed, but we have no hand in them. We watch some great theater. We take note. We applaud, dance, and sing. And then we move on. The Red Sea just split. What are we going to do? Oh, sing and dance. What a glorious day. What's next? Oh, manna appears each morning and quail. Oh, great. We can eat. The people saw, they benefit, but as we say today, they really didn't have a dog in this fight. They have no investment in what they're seeing. God was actively performing. They were passively observing, benefiting. So little really changed. But the second set was a partnership set. Here, Moses exercised initiative. Here, a human hand was required to achieve God's purposes. I love that. Rabbi Sachs buttresses his teaching by comparing the Israelites passively leaving Egypt under the leadership, the command of Moses. They did nothing but follow. And later on, how the Israelites, under the command of Joshua, themselves successfully fought against and defeated the Amalekites. When the people are involved, they make things happen. Whatever the intentions were of the scholars and the scribes who wrote these texts, intentions which we will really never be able to know, the rabbis found in the anomaly a powerful ally for their most important teaching. Tune in to the second part, and I'll tell you what that teaching is.